everybody, and welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Ann, Disembodied Hands, Quindy, Disembodied Beard, John, Disembodied Intentions, Justin, and Kiki! You're such a good girl. Yes, you're such a good girl. You are such a good girl. Yeah, good girl. Everybody loves to see you. Everybody loves to see you. Yay! Yay! Sniffy. Are you sniffing the air coming in through the window? Yeah, you sniffing what we're working on today? You gonna sniff on it? Yeah. Have you given it the Kiki seal of approval? Please do not lick it. Please do not lick it. I know. You want to lick everything. I know. Kiki says she is very big, yes. She is 73 pounds of Kiki, good girl. All right. You're a good girl, yeah. That's my Keekers. Keekers, I have to book the brutal road trip to take you to Texas today. That's the goal. Got to book a bunch of hotels there and back. We'll see if we survive it. Not the booking, the actual traveling of it. Right, Bubba? Yeah? You got to be on the road with Mama for 8 days, Papa. 8. It's going to be crazy. More if you count ReaperCon. What do you think of that? She was almost going to talk, but she didn't. She didn't talk. No, you didn't talk. No. Oh, but you're going to come up again. What, do you want the cork? You cannot have the cork. If I would have known that cork was the secret. Apparently cork is the secret. No, you cannot eat it. No, you cannot eat it, you dingo. No, dingo face. Hi, dingo face. I'm a dingo face, she says. Yes, typing is hard. Everything is hard today when you have a Kiki on you. It's hard to do anything. It's hard to be productive. It's hard to be productive when you have a giant fuzzy monster trying to eat your hands off. No teeth. Bye. No, do I have to exile you? Go settle, Keeks. Go settle. Cork is apparently tremendously alluring to Kikis. Yes. So, oh, Lord. All right. What a day. It's already a day. And I am out of bases. All my bases have fled. Actually, they've been used on other miniatures. And I totally did not order more of the Reaper base that I use so much. So I hope I have some hiding in here. Aha! Win! Yes! All right, people. I want you all to go out and buy these. I've used them on so many models now that you have no excuse, really, not to buy them. Yep, all my base. Yep, I found one. Yeah, so all of you go out and buy. Wait. Buy the Ultimate Basing Base. 74048. Buy this base. No, she likes the smell of it, Pendrake. I mean, it's wood, right? It's bark or whatever it is. Cork is fashioned of wood product, right? And you like wood. You like to eat it, don't you? You like sticks. It smells like sticks, Pendrake. That's why. Yeah. Sharpen the feets. Yes. Hi. You are just being what are you being such a turkey for today? She's like right here. Her head is right here. Yeah? What are you doing? This is a base. It's no cork. No cork. Come on, go settle down, Bubba. Do I have to get you a bully? Are you just going to be a dork unless I get you a chew? 1 second, guys. This is ridiculous. She sits here and ignores us for days, right? Now today, Kiki's like, hey, Mom, I'm not going to get off your lap unless you give me a chew. It's yours. It is yours. It's not cork, but it's yours. Highly disruptive Kiki day. And she slobbered all over me because Kiki. So yes, this base, if you want a pretty, nice base that you don't have to fill up the slot of base, and you want to be able to base big models like this, wide stance models like this, and have lots of room. This. Now, could we do it on this? Yes, we could cut off her base, and I'm going to be kind of looking at that today. I want to do a snow base on her. I want her standing on a stone that I can partially cover with snow, and then put snow around her. So, first I'm going to trim these little flashing vent plastics off of this with a knife. Then we're going to be trying out some stuff. And I'm probably going to do some green stuff on this. I'm going to use cork as a basic armature for the rock, because I need something to hold it up. But, thank you, Quindy. Yes, the 32 millimeter. It's what you want. Seriously. If you have a tiny model, then like our Necromancer that Quindy is in love with, then the smaller base with the pretty rounded curve is a good bet. Kiki, would you go settle, please? Do I have to exile you? She is just being a turkey today. Turkey, get your chew and settle. Hello, Thormel. There have been extreme Kiki sightings this morning. She apparently has decided that stream disruption is the way of the future. For those who wondered how this base turned out, by the way, that is how the base turned out. And how the model turned out, in fact. So that is done. Put that pop up there. So yeah, we were working on the base on my Saturday stream. We finished it this week. And then we worked on, just for fun, we did more comic book style on Mr. Orc, more underpainting. So, yep. More on that, just because I asked the stream what they wanted me to work on, and that was the choice. So, alrighty. I have a disrupted Kiki, but we're gonna try to get away from that. But yeah, I don't want her sitting. She's on a cobblestone base, and the cobblestone base is the new broccoli. Cobblestone is the new broccoli, by the way, just so you know. Because it's a nice generic base that gives you some texture to dry brush and wash if you just want to do a simple finish on it. I think we're pretty much, I think I did finish pretty much everything on this model. I'm just doing a double check real quick, but I think so. But yeah, it looks like we're pretty good. All right. Dear me. But, actually I'm looking at, well, yeah, I guess that's okay. I'm just looking at my highlight on the knee pad, but it is all right. It looks like I got a little bit of paint on it. I'll just do a quick touch up. You grab some Shining Mithril to do that. So, she is too wide. Her base is too wide to really fit nicely on this. You could cut the edges off if you wanted to and put her on one of these. You'd probably have to sculpt around it like we did with this lady. That's exactly what we did. And duplicating the cobblestone pattern is not hard, and I did do this on stream, so you can watch and see how I did it if you want to know. I still have to finish that basing painting. Probably not, but okay, just checking on the Keeks. She apparently has decided she really wants to be with me today. So we're just going to touch up that knee. I think I've got a dark spot. See the dark spot? I'm going to put the Shining Mithril and Blade Steel. Going to do a little bit of a mix. But yeah. So this base is a little bit small for her because she's just so big. She's got a very wide stance. You could do it if you put her on this base. You're going to be you're not going to have a lot of scenery. So you've got to convey what the base is like in very little room. Here we have more room. We can do a little bit more with cork or having her stand up on a promontory. We could even give her an animal friend if we wanted to, although I don't have any animal friends to hand, so I guess I'm not going to give her an animal friend. But you could. You would have the room. So it's up to you. There are like benefits to putting her on a smaller base in that it'll make her look more dynamic. A bigger base makes you look a little bit more solid, putting the wider space at the bottom, but you do get all that room to do scenery. So. Stinking bishop. Hey there, Ringbolt, not bot. Yeah, we're talking about basing today. I'm going to start the basing on this model, and I was just talking about whether you do a smaller base or a bigger base. Both of these are Reaper bases. Reaper puts out a whole bunch of different styles of bases that you can use, but I tend to really like this one, which is the 74048, which is the 32 millimeter round with no slot. It's just a really nice base for a character model of this size. I assume Stinking Bishop is one of those stinky cheeses that they have over there across the pond. All right, I'm going to just mix up a touch-up for that knee pad while I think about how I want to do this. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to use, since we're going to be doing, I want a rocky kind of promontory boulder kind of thing for her to stand on. So I'm going to be keeping part of this plastic base. I'm going to cut away a bunch of it in leave a rough shape. We're going to put it on top of a piece of this incredibly smelly, stinky cork that Kiki really wanted to eat. And we're going to green stuff around it to make that be our boulder and give us some interest. Thank you, Ringbolt. Yeah, I'm here every day. We do a bunch of different stuff. I do a 6-model rotation every weekday, Every weekday I'm on here for Reaper unless I'm on vacation or weirdness is going on. But we just finished Kathy here too, so we need to figure out a base for her. Then other models that we're working on are like Jolie here. She's in progress, so all the gray has yet to be painted. And then we just finished up, and we're on basing a lot now because we've finished up a lot of models. And we did this fun mouseling. Kind of an undead hunter mouseling that we recently did, and we did a cool texture effect for the leather on the hat. So yeah, I do a lot of different techniques on here. I mostly paint to a pretty high standard, but I like to answer questions from everybody of all skill levels, and a lot of these techniques can be adapted by almost anybody. The finger blurfs never end, Twisted Oma. But yeah, so this is about the standard I usually paint to on this stream, Ringbolt. I do my own stream as well. I tend to paint, I'm doing underpainting right now on a big orc bust on my own stream. We're doing comic book style. So I do my own stuff as well, and that's over on twitch.tv/paintingbig. I only do that one on Saturdays, though, since I stream on here the rest of the week. But yeah, so I do a bunch of stuff. A bunch of stuff. And that's pretty much my wheelhouse. I've been painting for a very long time. Let's see here. Let me do the math. I've been painting for competition, like at a high competitive level where I compete nationally and internationally for about 20 years now. And before that, there was like at least a decade of decent commission painting and display painting. So I've been at it for a while. Not a spring chicken. This is not a spring chicken stream. Oh no, your gardening gloves are not thistle proof. We have some crazy thistles in our neighborhood. Some people really like them, and so they've got them planted around their edge of their yards. And I always wonder if they're artichokes at first, and then they like burst open with these incredible purple tops. Bluey purple. They are truly, they are crazy. I can see why you guys in Scotland like thistles so much. I'm going to put 1 drop of water into these metallics because I want to touch up this knee, that dark spot up there, but I don't want too much. And when you thin your metallics, they're inevitably going to fall out of solution, so use very little water, or if you are using more water, be ready and resigned to the fact that your paint will separate and you will need to remix it as you apply it. Yeah, there are prickly plants out there. Oh, Caerindra, I got a new bird. I got a new bird. I can't remember. It's a wren. Dang it. Now I can't remember what wren it is. But I'll have to look it up again. Wren. I thought of Rhonda. But it's the one with the eyebrows, and its name is... Wait, I'm getting there. No, that's not the wren. Dang it, I hate these things. Bewick's wren. I have one of these. Actually, I have a pair of these with the little eyebrows and the sticky up tails. So I had one, and then he brought his wife this weekend. So my Bewick's wren was always kind of hanging around and checking out the place. But then on yesterday, I looked up and I saw that there were two. And the other one was much browner and a little bit smaller. And yeah, they are. They're tiny little birds that are super cute. And he was feeding her. So he would go and he would find a tidbit, and then he would run back to her and he would give it to her. It was very adorable. Watching the behavior of the birds is the most fun thing about my new bird feeders. So yeah, it was really cute. So apparently they've decided that my pad here is okay. They're such tiny birds, they're probably really vulnerable to predators. But they are adorable. Alrighty, is there any other metallic I need to touch up? Let's just take a quick look at this. I'm pretty happy with this overall, all things considered. I think we'll just run with it. Oh, up to 5 different nests. And then she picks the one she likes the best, huh? And I bet other species move into the other nests. Oh yeah, I do see. I have a little rivet here at the corner of the shield, and I totally forgot to highlight it. Alright. Let's do that, and then we're going to start cutting off her base. There we go. Much better. Now we can see it. And the one on the other side. Sweet. Okay, have fun. Okie dokie. Let's cut it off the base. First we have to get her off of the sticky tack, which is always fun when it's gone very goopy. I usually use my fingernail and I just start prying it up. But yeah, apparently this wren is not terribly common. And so I'm pretty happy that we have a pair and they like my place. Although they're mostly insect eaters. But at this point, with all the old seed that's been kind of blown into our fringe, I've got, we've got a patio, and then at the back of the patio there's a stripe of earth for, that's where our lemon trees are growing. My lemon tree is growing and other stuff. I'm just going to take most of this off and use it to get the rest off of her base. But yeah, in that fringe, which is mostly covered in bark, it's got a whole bunch of seed and stuff, old seed and things. I'm sure it's attracting bugs. So hopefully they have enough to eat. It's a cute little bird, though. The white eyebrows are the best. Not my favorite bird. Oh, I did get a picture of my favorite bird for you, Caerindra, too. Sorry for people who hate birds. I'm just going to inundate you with birds very quickly. My favorite is my little pygmy nuthatch. Here is my cute bird. That is my cutest, most favorite bird. Very, very cute. Extremely cute. Very tiny and round and adorable. Looks like a chickadee, but is not a chickadee. I checked the noises. And the cutest thing about this bird is that he gets out a seed, and then he puts it between his feet, and he eats it. Is the cutest bird. Is honestly the cutest bird. He always picks the big seeds, too. And then he's just like, peck, 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 peck. And then he inevitably drops one. It's not a chickadee. Not a chickadee. No, I looked it up. Chickadees, these guys are actually more streamlined, although mine are looking pretty fat now because I feed them so well. It is not a chickadee. Hold on. Pygmy nuthatch. It has a different, it's just a different, like I thought chickadee at first too, but then when I looked at chickadees, they were so round, Thoromel. And this guy, when he first started coming, was pretty slim and streamlined. And there were a bunch of them, and the noise they make is wrong. They don't make the chickadee noise, they make the pygmy nuthatch noise. So, and he's very acrobatic. He hangs upside down like a nuthatch. He and his friends. There are 3 or 4 of them. But it's not a chickadee. Not from the noise and the behavior. I thought they were chickadees at first. So we're going to use this big glob to get all the rest of this off at the bottom of this base. We'll take most of it off. Because the looser it is, the easier. But you see I just got a big chunk. They look similar, yeah, but remember chickadees have a black cap, and this guy, it's actually a dark brown. It's hard to see, but it's actually brown. And that's why I was like, wait a minute, is this really a chickadee? And every chickadee picture I looked at did not match this bird, and then when I was listening to the noises that they made, it matched the pygmy nuthatch, and they're a little bit different. But, you know, regionally, the markings do vary a little bit. Here. But yeah, it looks like a chickadee, but it sings different. And I think they're slightly, how big are chickadees? But yeah, it's not black. And his behavior is different, and that it's just, yeah, there's a bunch of different things. But yeah, so I thought chickadee, and then I was like, but wait, all these things don't match. Yeah, those are my favorite ones. I love those birds. Then we get our house wrens. So we're up to, we've got several species now. We've got our California towhee, aka fat bird. And then we've got our lesser goldfinches, a herd of them at this point. Yeah, sorry that you lost that, Twistedoma. That's hard. Yeah, you should, Caerindra. I like birds. So now we have finally got this all nice and cleaned off. We can return our glob to the top of our block to be ready for the next model. I have many blocks over here now, waiting for minis. But I have minis I need to clean off and get ready for stream. So there we go. Now, I want to trim this, and I need to decide what shape. If I want her to be on kind of a promontory rock, then I definitely want a steep drop off the front. So probably around here, and the rock can protrude more toward the back. So I want the general shape here, so that and I want it smaller, so I can fit it on top of a bigger piece of cork on top of this base. Yeah, there's, actually, if you really want a cool bird state, I think Texas has a lot to offer, Thoromel. They have the coolest scissor-tail swallows there, and there's just a bunch of crazy awesome birds in Texas. Out here, it depends on where you are, but there are some really nice bird sanctuaries near the coast that I've driven by that we just haven't had time to... Yeah, it was time to do an unnecessary things purge, for sure. My parents did one. They did a big one when they decided to move into their new condo. They decided to move into a duplex instead of staying in our old house. And they were like, you kids ought to thank us because when we pass away, we didn't want you to sort through all that crap. So we got rid of it before then. My parents are pretty cool that way. They're like pretty pragmatic about it, shall we say. Some people wouldn't even want to talk about that, but they're like, we just want you guys to be thankful. So I want this really sharp then, under her foot here. Trim very carefully. You can trim a little bit, like you don't have to be super careful except for the paint job around the foot. But when you get to the center here, be careful because your clippers will put a lot of pressure on the plastic there. And as they're pressing and distorting the plastic, you can really, not so much this model, her ankles are pretty good, but you can snap an ankle pretty easy. So, oh yeah, the Roadrunners, yep. Yeah, there's all sorts of, I mean, we get all sorts of really cool birds. All right, so she's going to be standing up. I may even tilt her up a little bit when I'm doing her on the base to have her that way. So I'm going to cut away the front here. I'm just going to keep kind of not cutting between her feet. I want to cut off the front of this base. And when I'm working up to cutting out a little bit of that area between her feet, then I want to be careful about it. And just do little chunks at a time so I'm not like putting a huge amount of pressure between those feet. Roadrunners are real birds, believe it or not. And in Arizona, you can see even more of them. I always see, what I love in Arizona are the little quails with the little bloop off the top of their head. The Roadrunners and the quail in Arizona are my faves. And the hummingbirds. But we have hummingbirds here too. We do have hummingbirds, but they're on the other side of the house usually with our jasmine. So I'm really cutting it close because I can build out around this area. I'm going to cut a little bit more off the back here just to keep this area, and I might want to slope it, so I'm going to cut off this. And I can always sculpt and put more back on, so I'm not greatly concerned about cutting off too much. No, they are not blue. Brown and white, I think. Oh, wow. Meep, meep. Yep. But they exist. It's true. All right, so let's see here. I want to look at this. I want to kind of look at my basing. Kind of raise it up a little bit on my cork. So the higher we go, the more dramatic. And it'll depend on, like, I'll kind of look at the type of cork. I don't want to go, remember my rule though. So base rule, haha, the basic rule, is that I don't want my basing to be more than a third the height of my figure. If you have a taller base, it tends to just look really extraneous and weird. If you want the model to still be like pleasing, like as far as the proportions go, to be pleasing, then I would go more a third the height, and a third the height of this figure is a little bit above the kneecap here, I would say, about like that. So maybe a centimeter, more than 1 centimeter in height. Let's see, centimeter and a third or so. So all right, so my total area, I'm thinking, shouldn't be taller than that. So I want to see, do a quick measure of how much I'm getting with 1 layer of cork. But 2 is going to be almost a little bit too much. I could use a taller cork. I do have my big cork, but that I think is going to be too much. So we'll probably have to adapt this thinner cork, because 1 layer of the trunk cork is 1 millimeter. So that might work. Let's see. The chunky cork does have the advantage of looking really a lot like rocks. That's not terrible. Let's put it on the base and see. That's about the upper limit. Like, it's maybe a little tall for me, but it does give her dramatic height. And if we use this, the rocks here, and we build it out to look like a cliff, that could be fun. So I think maybe we'll do that. We'll use this piece of cork that I've had lying around forever. It fits pretty well in the base once I take the chunks off. And it's already got kind of an undercut here, so I can use green stuff to suggest that it's overhanging more. I can put it right up to the bottom. If this is going to be a cliff, then I don't actually want to do anything on the bottom. Oh no, I lost a chunk. That happens. So I can probably want to reinforce that buttress. So I like the shape of this cork. Start breaking off the back pieces. With big cork like this, you can do it with your fingers. You can also just try to cut. I like this because that gives me a neat kind of cut in. Though I did take off a lot back there, so I'm probably going to need to put more rocky texture back there. And I might decide that it's just a rock and not a cliff and put snow around the bottom here. We'll see. Okay, so when I'm down to here, that's when I'm going to start working my knife in here. I could use a cutting mat, or I can just use another piece of cork. And I'm going to cut. Sometimes this cork gets really brittle, so haha, as I send cork flying across the room. But that's okay. Let me get down to a softer piece here. And I did cut off that chunk really regularly, but now I'm going to use the tip of my knife and more kind of pull away at this stuff. This is the great thing about cork. That you can just take off little bits of it to make it fit your thing. All right, that looks pretty good. Just trying to get this all so that it fits. That looks all right. All right, now I need this big chunk to come off. And once again, I think I'm going to kind of slice it. There we go. And I can let a little bit of this hang over, but if I want any of it to hang over, I want it to hang over in the front where she's going to be like stepping out. So this and that and this, and I'm okay with it hanging over here. I probably will take off a little bit of this rock right here. That's better. And now I need just a little tiny bit of this to come off here. So I am looking at ordering some cosplay to do a bigger base. I have that on my list for today. We can do the sculpting on stream and then I'll have to bake it and then we can decorate it. All right, I like this shape. This is a good cork shape. I've got this nice overhang up here where the rock sheared away. So that's nice. And there's some great shapes under here that I can double down on. I've got this bit that protrudes and this steep part here, which is kind of neat. This jumble of stone here is really nice. And then the back part is interesting and I'll be able to put plants or snow on various places for it. Might even do a little fringe of icicles for you guys since we have this overhang here. That would be a pretty good time to do those. Icicles are really easy to do with Woodland Scenic's water effects. So Stuff like that is what that stuff excels at. I'm going to sweep my debris out of the way here. But I think this is all the rocks I want, really. Okay. So now I gotta see how she fits on here. My promontory part is here, so I want her to fit up there. And what I'll have to do then is dress up this base of hers. I have two choices. I could either dress up the base to blend it into everything and make it another level of rock, or I can cut it off entirely and pin her onto this surface. I kind of honestly, the problem with cork is that super flat top. And so I honestly think I want to do more sculpting on top here and to turn what she's standing on into another layer of rock so that I can dress up this area a little bit better. I think I want her there. Off center is always better if you're working with a bigger base. So you don't want to just plop the model right in the center necessarily. Here I want her out, kind of leaning over that overhang there. It's a much more dynamic pose, much more interesting. I am going to glue down my cork because I'm really happy with the size of it. Could use white glue for this. White glue would be the best thing to use for it. I think I have white glue in the other area. It's not going to set right away though if we use white glue, so I'll probably use super glue and then go back and work with some stuff. 1 second. Well, I finally did doctor my GW contrast paint to be the color I wanted, so now I am ready to go ahead with Tyranids. So you can use several types of glue with cork. You usually want to put a layer of it over the top of the cork if your cork is really crumbly and dry. Either of these, Elmer's Glue All, honestly, is my go-to for pretty much everything, but you can also use wood glue, which is often a little tougher. It's yellowy, but it's, I mean, for basing, you don't really care. It bonds a little stronger. It, you know, it's still water soluble as far as cleanup goes, so it's easy to clean up just like the Elmer's. So either way, you could do that. I also did find some of my Loctite gel glue, which is going to be a good, like, kind of stopgap measure here. So in addition to gluing the base down, I'm probably going to put a layer of glue over the top. Paint does work to help seal your cork, but sometimes if you want extra durability, especially if you're using this kind of stuff on gaming terrain, which it totally is decent for, I would definitely put down a layer of glue over it before you painted it. It helps to just seal it a bit and fill in some stuff. But I'm going to use this Loctite Ultra Gel, assuming I have any left. This bottle's almost dead. And I am going to glue this sucker down. The gel's a little better than a fluid super glue. A fluid super glue is going to pretty much soak just right into the cork and make it very brittle and hard. There we go. The gel is going to be a little bit better. The other thing about the regular super glue is that it's, when it does soak in, it's not going to grab onto the base as much, whereas the gel obviously is not soaking in, so it's still there, so it's going to be nice to glue down the space with. I have a little bit coming out around the edges. I don't really care about that. I'm going to let that sit while I clean up my stuff here. Swarthy Flesh, yes. They renamed that in Peachy, or, you know, they renamed the one to Peachy Flesh, but yes. The Bones Skin Tones. Alright, I need to put my little bits here into a bag so that they can stick around for when I need more bits. I use Loctite very rarely, Polly. I don't like Loctite for gluing together most models. For the gel anyway. Okay, so here's the dealio. Just so you know, Polly. Gel superglues are weaker than gap filling or super thin. Now, super thin, obviously, you can only use if you have a perfect fit, which with a lot of miniatures, metal ones especially, you aren't getting. But be aware that the gel superglue does not have the same strength as the others. It's like when you pay for that filler, when you pay for that bulking of the glue, you get a little bit more of a brittle glue, so it's not as strong. But if you're using it for something like this, where you've got a large contact area and a lot for it to grip on, you're fine. But Loctite has lots of different formulations. They're the gel glue that I tend to use when I use gel glue. Otherwise, I am a Zap-A-Gap girl all the way when it comes to my usual super glue. And I mean, I've got plenty of goop. The Loctite bottles are nice because they do, as you say, they keep the glue good for a very long time because they're not exposing as much air. It's really nice that way. Plenty of Reaperites go swear by Loctite. Oh yeah, Slayer. Like, okay, layering and glazing, like, are almost, you've got to use them together. Like, if you can't get it smooth, then you do glazing. Like, that's how it works. That's actually how it works. If you're really good at layering, you can get it really smooth without the glaze. But honestly, that's like the tip-top level of layering. And often, many of us don't even. We just glaze because it's going to give us the same effect with less work. But yeah, layering and glazing go hand in hand. Like, you can use them separately, but they really are made to go together. And when you're talking about smooth blending, it's almost necessary. And if you can't get it smooth, often it's paint consistency. There's several components to successful layering if you're trying to get smooth layers. It's the brush you're using, it's the brush stroke you're using, it's the loading of the brush and how much paint you've got on it, and it's paint consistency. It's 4 different factors. That's why it's like, and it's time consuming. So that's why a lot of people these days, like, the style is much more painterly, much more not, they've gone away from smooth blending toward texture. But you're still going to need to learn smooth blending if you want to do some surfaces. Because there are going to be those surfaces that you can't airbrush and that you want that smooth blend on. So it's worth learning it. But yeah, like, you almost always glaze, almost always, if you want it smooth. Hey Roger, thank you for the resub. 35 months. Sweet. Alrighty. Get all my little fragments of plastic off of my work surface. There we are. All right, and I'm gonna need to get me some green stuff, I believe. So we'll glue this down, and then we'll start doing some sculpting to accentuate it. Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's why that sideways stroke is good though, Slayer, because instead of just looking like you were bad at blending, you look like you're creating texture instead. So that's already a step in the right direction. And then, yeah, you've got to thin the paint a lot. You have very little paint on your brush. You have a brush with a really good tip. And then it's glazing afterwards to blend it in. Let me go and get my green stuff, and we will start figuring out how this is going to look. My green stuff was in the freezer, but it was buried under tamales. Tamales are a higher priority. Hey, Kiki. No, Mom's still working. Work. Yeah, Mom's still working. Hi there, Face. Oh, who's a little snuggly dog today? Who's a snuggle dog? Hi there, sweetie girl. Yes, hello. You smell like a dog, to quote David. Yeah, you a good girl? This is not NMM, Mac. This is metallics. Shaded metallics. No, I don't want her up on my lap again, Twisted Oma. No, it's not. It's actual metallics. See the way the light shifts? This is shaded metallics. So, but yeah, it's you can see there on the stomach. It's metal. Especially when you see it shift away from the light. But yeah, I mean, if I'm going to do metallics, I'm going to do shaded metallics. And when I do shaded metallics, I highlight and shade them as I would NMM, which makes sense to me. That way you can control your highlights and shadows a little bit better so that it tends to look better from more angles. This is why. And I just had to touch up the knee. But yeah, my metallic paint is still out, actually. I had to thin it down. But we just did a touch-up earlier. So this is blade steel plus mithril silver. And I need to throw more water into it so it doesn't dry on my palette. There. And it'll be easier to clear off at the end. Yeah, metallics for me are not an excuse to go lazy. Metallics for me are an excuse to double down. Even on 28. And we don't do them very often because there aren't that many models I feel they look good on at 28, but her metals were pretty big and chunky, the areas of them, so I felt like it was doable. Okay, get this sprue cutter out of the way. Alrighty. But yep. If anything, my complaint is that my sword is too regular. My shadows and highlights on it are too regular. So I may go in and still play with those once I've got her on her base. But, alright, I want her positioned. I want to kind of look at the base in general. I think we want her about here. I think I want her about there. That way I can make this like cascade of stone be pretty dramatic and interesting, and maybe I can add some extra features. So yeah, I think so. I think right about there. Okay. Now, having picked my spot, I need my glue again. Yeah, it's nice to do metallics every once in a while. And yes, I could pin her to the cork. The cork is not terribly strong, so pinning her to the cork can be problematic just because the pin won't give much. It won't give much to it, really. Not unless you pin all the way through into the bottom of the base. Since I kept on, if I had cut off her base, I would have to pin all the way through to the bottom of the base. Since I did not, I can actually glue this to this and then use green stuff to seal it all. Let's see if I have just enough of this glue to get it going. Do what you feel, man. I mean, it's the reason that you don't like NMM is the reason that I like NMM. Because that extra control. Let's see if I can get this to work here. So now I need to put something up here in this focal point. I'll have to decide what I'm going to do. Because she's back here and I've got her raised up, which is nice. And I'll be able to add details and sculpt around and make this more dramatic. But I also, by putting her so far back on the base, I've left this front part, and that means we need to do something up there to support that. And up here we had the same problem, if you remember. So here we put a rune, a glowing rune. So you don't always have to build something. You can just put a painted detail on there instead if you have an idea for it. Here I think I am going to sculpt something or do something. I just need to figure it out. Figure out what I want to do. Except it doesn't, yeah, maybe if it was a GW mini, but she's the wrong army. Like, she would be the wrong army for that. A particular monster skull I could see, but not a pile. No, I wouldn't give her a squirrel. She's celestial. I mean, she's got a comet shield. She'd have a wolf or a raven or a eagle or something. But I was actually thinking about, I don't know. I have a thought. We'll see if I execute on it. I'm actually not going to tell you guys. I'm gonna let it sit and think about how I will do it, and then if I do it, then I'll have it set. Because I have a couple of different ideas that I could do. I don't know if one of them is going to be pretty darn ambitious. So I don't know. We'll see. No, not putting any sort of animal on there, actually, Volnevia. I don't think I'm going to give her a critter companion. I think I want to do something else. The thing is that if you pick a critter, then you can say something about the character, which is fun. But if you pick to do a basing element, you can say something about the world, okay? So think about that. So doing a basing element gives you the chance to suggest like what the type of place she is. It gives you a chance to set a scene. Choosing an animal character that's her companion will tell you more about her as a character, right? If she's got a wolverine or an eagle or a wolf or a squirrel, you know, it's all going to say different things about her. But I don't think I want to do that. I'm not sure what I want to do yet. I have thoughts. I may do something crazy. Who knows? But I like this base a lot. I love the shape of it. So I do want to do something fun. But right now we need to seal down the base that we just glued down there. So let's do that. I'm not going to use this cork today. And I need to get more of my skinny cork too. I might want some extra elements, but I think I'm going to just sculpt them. Yeah, I don't know if we're going to get to it today. And I'm still, when I have an ambitious idea in mind, sometimes I just don't tell you guys because I'm like, if I tell you, but then I lose the oomph to do it, then it's disappointing. So, got extra bases over here. All right, we need some green. And we need some sculpting tools. We want our spade sculpting tool. We probably want our big flat one. I'm just looking around to see what else I might want. Usually for rocks, I like to have some sharp spade-like sculpting tool. I could use either of these. The tips are similar, and that's usually what you're going to use. This one's a little flatter, I think, and a little less rounded. So I'll probably use that one. And I get out my little sculpting tools. I might not need them though. But yeah, it is often the case that I will have an ambitious idea, but then by the time I get around to actually doing the ambitious idea, I just don't have the oomph for it. This happens. Y'all know. You've been in that boat. You get an ambitious idea, maybe you sleep on it, the next day you just don't have the energy for it. So, it be a thing. So I've got my green stuff here. And green is nice because it is sticky. I mean, that's why people cuss about it, right? Working with it can be hard, but the fact that it is sticky means we can use it to further adhere this model to the base. And I'm going to be able to use it to, you know, make sure that some parts of this this cork rock face stay in place as well. But yeah, really I'm just deciding between two different things. So we'll see if I decide to go for it. But sometimes, you guys know I'm a thinker. Like I talked about my novel process the other day, and it's very true that sometimes I just need to let an idea mull over in my head. So we've got our blue and our yellow. I think I want a little more yellow. But sometimes an idea just has to sit in my head for a while, and then it either comes out or it doesn't. There we go, it's a little better. Want a little bit more yellow than blue. Not a ton more, though. Like this morning, my brain told me what book I was writing next. It was not a conscious decision. I've been thinking about 2 books. And this morning, like a freaking flood. I always joke, there's a trapdoor in the top of my brain. It's like it's up here somewhere. The trapdoor opens and it dumps ideas into my brain. But up there, inside of the dark space at the top of my head, where the trapdoor leads to, and nobody knows what's up there. I wouldn't even go up there. That's scary stuff. But every once in a while, all the ideas come out of there. And today, the trapdoor opened and it dumped an opening scene and a bunch of backstory and the key to my magic system and everything. So I was like, oh, all right then. And I knew that would happen eventually. Hey, Val. Doing okay. Doing some base work here. Going to integrate and turn into more rocks, this base that she was on. Nice. Yeah, I mean, silicone would be even easier to clean than this palette, although this palette is very easy to clean. And I've got my little 28 well. So now you will have a 28 well palette. All right, very good. I just clean my palette like right after I paint, and that means all the paint is still wet, so it's super easy to clean. Like, oh, I guess got in that habit. Like, I can't leave paint sitting on my palette now unless I know I'm coming back to it later that day, and then I'll put a saran wrap over it. All right, so we've got our green mixed up nice and uniform. Make sure that I've got it all integrated. Then I need a plastic. Just a plastic bag will do. Any plastic bag will do. Or a plastic blister pack will work, but I like a little bit doing this. And now we will take a chunk of this, and we're going to make a snake that goes around the outside of her integral base so that we can start smoothing it in. It is chunky cork and the bottom of her base that we've cut her base down, Val, so I'm going to create more rock there. I didn't want to separate her out totally because I wanted a little more height and variance on the top of the cork, but this is chunky cork, yes. I'm going to make her pretty much like up on a rocky promontory. And we are going to do other features that are yet to be decided, depending on my energy level. So we're going to pop this all the way around it, just like working with clay when you were a kid. Just make a ring for now. And I just use water because I don't want to have to wash the base. And I'm going to just start by, while this is so sticky, the green stuff, I'm just going to press it into her base. And I'm going to skin over the entire top of her base. Either that, or if I'm going to surround her feet with snow, I don't need to do anything to these cobblestones. They're going to get buried. But right now I just want to use this green to help stick this base up onto the cork. And then we'll start working with shapes. So if I see right away that I need to create a shape, like here where I've got that little piece of rock and then this big chunk, I definitely want the big chunk to stay in place. So I'm going to pull this rock down. And I will wrap the green around this rock a little bit as well once I build it up. But yeah, I like working with cork as an armature on bases, Val. I usually use thinner cork, but this one I wanted a big rocky mountain kind of feel, mountainous kind of feel, so we're going to take this green and we're going to, there's a little tiny piece of cork down here that I'm going to kind of wrap this green just kind of around, just reinforce it and make it essentially part of a big chunk that comes up like that. So I'm defining big spaces, but I'm not doing any fine sculpting because I'm probably going to put another skin of green over this. We'll see. And of course, the nice thing about green stuff is that you can take your extra pieces of cork and imprint the green with the texture. So, but that's a nice craggy feel to it there. And wherever I can, wherever I find the flat surfaces, although I am going to cover a lot of this with snow and that helps. Yeah, it's the new old big thing to use. I mean, cork is just really useful that way. It's inexpensive. You can get a lot of bulk with it very quickly. It's lightweight, and it breaks into natural stone shapes. So there is really nothing, there's no reason not to use it that I can think of. And even if I skin over a lot of this, I mean, although I won't because it's got some great rock texture here. Oh, it's, you can get a big amount. It's in my, I have it in my Amazon. I used to have it sticky noted right up on my thingy, but I somehow took that down at some point. 1 second. Oop. There's a specific search. I think it's 5/8 cork on Amazon. 1 second. Yeah, I didn't want that. I know I've still got it more in my thing here somewhere. Oh, hey, I can delete those. Somewhere. Aha! Quartet corkboard bulletin board tiles, 12 by 12. 4-pack. And I think it does not give you the other dimensions. 1/4 inch thick. Oh, this may not be, they may have changed this item. 1 second. No, actually, I think 1/4 is about right. It's technically it's a centimeter thick, but it's hold on. Eek, there it is. Yeah. Where's my pieces? I mean, I think it's a centimeter thick, and they're just saying, but I don't know. They're saying this is a 1/4 inch thick, when really it used to be 3/8. So if they've narrowed it to 1/4, I don't know that that's going to be quite as chunky as this. Yeah, it looks like they've shrunk it a little. It used to be 3/8, and now it's 1/4. And this is still the item that was in my cart, so they've actually changed the product. But yeah. Joy and craft stores. Yeah, most of these will. Most of the. Yeah, it's just cork. You just got to look around and make sure you don't get the 1/8 inch or the whatever the other one is. back to our job. Got distracted. This happens. I'm gonna move this glue because it's in the way. Yeah, whenever I wanna, there's something I don't want to order right away, but I want to have access to it eventually, I'll keep it in my Amazon cart. But yeah, I still have a full sheet at least of this brown stuff, so I'm not in danger of running out of it anytime soon. Maybe I'll order the slightly thinner variety. But yeah, bottom line, if you get cork in different thicknesses, then you can always layer it. So I'm wrapping a bit of my green around the bottom of this. That's going to help to hold everything together. Oh, you know, it happens, Val. I mean, I was talking about cork anyway. But you know that that's what this stream is about anyway, Val. This stream is about not staying on topic. That's pretty much where it's at. Now we're up to where we can put this slightly in front. So we took away material from the front, from in front of her foot, and now with green stuff we can actually put a little bit of material back. And I will, once this green stuff sets, I'll probably add in more. But first, I want to just get this stuff in place, and then I want to get a piece of cork and texture it a bit. I think I want a bit more green to build out some of this, but I want to fix the back here. The back is still kind of gloopy. Yeah, but if we just stayed on topic all the time, it would be just boring. So I'm going to make a notch here, and just like I did on the front of the base, to separate it out into different rock segments, just in the same area where I actually do have kind of a split here. You see this gap here. So I'm going to pop this back here, put a notch in it. Kind of want to buff out any tool marks that are not like rock-like. If anything looks too artificial, I'll kind of use my tool to try to introduce more rock-like texture. And I am going to go over this with a kind of a stamping effect too. So there. All right, so we've got this. Now I can take, you can see this little this little bit coming out. I can reinforce. Some of these very thin cork bits are really fragile. And so what I can do though is I can move some green stuff out onto that and reinforce it. Much as my brain wanted to go a different way this morning in my writing, today is editing West of the Moon Day. Let's see how many chapters I can get through. I whipped out all my notes. Got it all set. And I'm making ribs today, I think, so I need to prep those before I start. Ah, silly green stuff. Boop. There, much better. Ah, I see. We've got moisture there. I've got extra water. So we've got water and it's impinging upon our green stuff adherence. Just take a tissue. Just use your fingernail if you need to take off some of that moisture. low on the surface to dry it, and then you will be able to green stuff again. I can use my fingernail to hold up this fragile little piece while I bring out the green onto it. Surface is still a little wet, so the green is clinging in some places and not clinging in others. Yeah, see, it came way up. See how that is darkened down with water. This is the problem with working with a lot of water. But the cork isn't super sticky, so I need to use water. I'm going to try this one more time. Yeah, just be aware that sometimes, depending on where you are, some places would rather you didn't take stuff like that, so be aware. I always check if I can, because some places are like, if every visitor took a little bit of sand from this beach, we wouldn't have a beach anymore. You know, it's that kind of thing. Ah, oh no. Yeah, this is definitely fighting us. That's all right. Patience. I forget where the first place I saw that type of sign was. The whole do not take stuff from our beach or our area. Yeah, this is just like being problematic because it's too wet. It's too easy for the water to get underneath. Probably I should start over here and bring it around. So let's grab another piece of green. Boop. Boop. Yeah, the cork just does not want to hold the green now that it's gotten a little bit moist. It's like, this is a moist part of the cork, and it does not want your green to stick to it. Yeah. Yeah, so you always want to check. Make sure that some places really do not want you to take stuff away from where they are. Though there are plenty of places that are fine. If you're out in the middle of like a mountainside or a desert preserve or something, you're probably not gonna, nobody's gonna care if you take a rock or a piece of bark. There we go, got it to stick down. Yeah. do have a couple of things from beaches. I showed you guys my cool rocks with holes in them, I think, before, but alright, I'm going to get this to a point where it's decent, and then I'm going to let me grab my cork. Ah, well then we good. If you are that dude, then you are cool. Normal. Just wanted to say that for people who might not realize it, though. Bye, Crowley. Alright, I'm going to grab a piece of cork and I'm going to use it to texture some of this area before it gets too set and before I forget. So, big piece of cork. I'm just going to use the edges of it to add texture. Swap it around. Oops, some of my cork is coming off. Well, that's okay. If a big chunk comes off, honestly, press it into your green stuff. I'm going to reinforce this area more anyway, so I don't need a lot of imprinting here. Just using that to press that down on there. Once we paint over it, it's just going to look like layers of stone. I'm going to come back and thin that out. Oh, yeah, it does not want to sit. It does not want to stay. It's like the cork under me is wet and I do not want to stick. That's all right. I'll flatten it down a little bit anyway. And you'll tell when the cork is kind of wet because it'll be kind of spongy, but that's all right. If we leave that sit there, it will set. And we will go over the top of this with probably basing pastes, texture pastes, and fake snow, and I'll probably do a little bit more work on it. We'll see. We'll see how it looks. I need to curve this green stuff over the top of the base. Just want to hold her on there. Remember, that's part of the goal here. We want to check her. She leans back a little on her base, so that's something to note. And we may want to correct that just a little bit if we can, because what we can do, we really want to, is we can kind of figure out where the base is and tilt it up a little bit. It's already very stuck down with the green, though. Yeah, I don't want to break too much, so I'm going to try to bring it up a little bit. Bye, Thormel. This big fissure, I don't want to lose it. But now she is really, really stuck down to the base, as you can tell, because it was really hard for me to like try to alter her stance at all. Yeah, with crystals, I never had much luck using really real ones. The problem with using real rocks in your miniatures is that it's hard to adhere them, and it can be hard to, obviously you can't, unless you've got a specialized rig, drilling or pinning to them is, like, not happening. I tend to, if I want crystals, I tend to sculpt them out of green. You just pretty much create like a shape in green, and then you can just cut angles off the top and you have a nice crystal, and you can make it exactly the shape you want, and it's not going to cost you very much. Same with clay probably, although I don't know how easy it is to slice through various types of clay, but with green you can definitely do it. But yeah, I never had much luck. I use real rocks to test as texture stamps sometimes, but I never had a lot of luck with using actual crystals and stuff. And we're never quite the right size. Or they were kind of hard to work with. But if you find a way and you're able to do it, then it can be really cool as long as if it works out for you. But yeah, be aware that, you know, pinning something to a stone is not going to work unless you've got a water lubricated drill. Though some rocks are softer than others, but that's why I always just build my rocks when I'm doing a rock base. Both because of that, and I really enjoy sculpting rocks. I cannot lie. I am that person, that weirdo. So now I'm just kind of going in here and tightening up some details. If I got some cork stuck in here, I want to press it down into the green so it sticks. Got to decide if I want, yeah, this rock's pretty good. I'm going to press it into the green, that fallen rock there. So not too bad. If I want more texture, I should get out one of my pieces of smaller cork. And this will give me a grittier texture because it's got a finer grain. So if I want to do a different type of texture and really rough it up more, I can use this. I feel like I lost a little bit of this angle over here. Alrighty, that's not bad. Now I need to do more out front and more on the sides. I need to blend in, essentially create more like rock step effect over all around here. Oh no. Yep. Yeah, and the Vaseline's a pain in the butt, right? Yep. Yeah, it's a bummer. Sorry for Nico. Can you use any, have you tried the other epoxy type things, like Aves, Milliput, to see if they activate your allergies? Oh. Boop. There we go. A nice big sausage of green. Oh, plus gloves. Got it. So I want to make more rocky shapes leaning down from this base. So I'm bringing in these lumps, this big lump of green, which I will then work into everything else. I'll just try to kind of gouge it and make some irregular shapes with it. Interesting. I wonder if all of the... I assume you've tried Fimo also, and maybe the Cos clay to see any of the bakeable clays. They're probably very similar, so you probably would be allergic to all of them. And they're all for different things anyway. I'm going to make a little bit of a shelf here. Although when I cut this base, I made it irregular for a reason, so that it would look like it blended into everything else. I can still like extend it in places and cut it back in others with the green. Green will tend to kind of blobify after you press it into place, so if you want a nice flat surface or an angle that's more abrupt, do it after the green has had a little time to set up so that it doesn't go globulous on you. Yep. Yeah, it's a bummer. Dang all those people out there who don't have allergies. So mostly I'm just using this one tool. It's the leaf-shaped tools and the angle, the chisel-shaped tools are always very useful for this sort of thing, because you can get flat spaces, and you can cut with it. You know, you've got a curved edge, so you can create a curved area if you need to. And it's got a tip, so you can do a little bit of fine detailing with it. Not as much as you could do with Tiny Spoon or its friend. Yes, we're targeting you, Cursed. Absolutely, you should feel targeted. Darn all you people. There. So now we've got a nice tumble of rocks here instead of what we had before, which is just that flat edge. They're very shiny, though. You can see that they have no texture on them. See how shiny they are? So that is where we would take this, and you're very gently hitting the detail that you just did, or you're going to lose it. But even introducing a little bit of texture to these rocks will make them look much more rock-like. And you can always come back and redefine your, if you squish them a little bit, you can come back and redefine your angles a little bit with your sculpting tool after you have your texture down. Sorry for the grinding. There's a grinder out there somebody's doing. Probably the construction down the way. So if that's carrying through it all, my apologies. Been hearing a funky bird noise lately. I don't know which bird it belongs to. I'm kind of hoping it'll come to the feeder. Alrighty, so yeah, much better kind of tumbled stones look. You can also just use gritty, like cork leftovers for this sort of thing, and it'll give you a good texture and a good appearance as well. Watch out for any super flat sides, though. You want to, if you've got a chunk of cork that you want to put on as a rock, make sure you put the super flat side down so that you get more of a natural shape and you don't have to fight that, assuming that the piece you grab does have that super flat side. Okay, good, Quindy, thanks. Because I could close my window. I have it open. But if it's not too bad, then we'll... They were doing an entire rebuild, gut and rebuild on the house down the block, so... Keeping very little of it. and they're losing most of their backyard. It's a neat rebuild. Like, I always like to kind of look at it as I go by on my walk. But it's definitely loud during the day because doing a lot of heavy construction to it. A lot of cutting, a lot of grinding. Ah, bird nap. Okay. Thanks, Cornico. Okay, so now this part is still very much green stuff. It's very smooth and rounded. So back in here we need to do some stuff. So let's actually, let's get some cork bits. Do I have some cork bits over here? I keep this giant bag of cork bits for just this reason. You'd think I would actually use it. I have big bits and little bits and fine bits and bits and bits and kibbles and bits. No, this cork is not for you, Kiki. So the fine cork bits tend to all like settle out at the bottom here. Let's see if I can grab a bunch. There. Oh, and there's an icicle, but it's a dead icicle. Must have gotten brushed up. It's too full of goo to be useful now. All right. Alrighty, look at this treasure trove of little cork bits we've got. This one's too big. This one's too big. That one is, well, maybe. But there's a flat side. So you gotta kind of watch these little guys, and when you've got one that obviously has a flat side, like this little guy, but he's lying on it, so you've got that super flat side, that's the side you put down. We'll actually probably use that little guy. So here I would start with super glue, although I accidentally put my Loctite upright, so now I need to remember, let it drain down a bit. So I want this little guy. Let's see here. Looking for some other, all these little guys actually work really well. We can create this guy, these guys. You can create a nice jumble out of that. And I've got some super fine stuff in here too that I could maybe just use to rough up certain surfaces, or down here on the bottom as debris. So that would work really well. So I'll grab some of that. And I can use thinner super glue for that bottom stuff. And also a little bit here at the top. So let me grab that. I'm gonna put my Loctite upside down. Mostly white noise. Yeah. Yeah, it is on my end. Okay. Alrighty, I'm going to grab this and I'm going to put a little line of super glue, and you can use white glue for this, and a lot of people will. It's a much more patient process if you're using white glue. Why not? You know, we're not going to do anything to that. Why don't I just use my white glue? White glue or the wood glue. The wood glue does not have a nozzle that works, so I am going to, I'd have to take off the entire thing. Now you can thin your glue with water, just like paint pretty much. White glue and paint have a lot in common. It's very viscous, but you can add water to it and even paint to get it to act more like what you're used to. And of course white glue does dry clear and mostly matte. And it's easy to paint over. So I just put a drop of water in there just like I would with a paint. It's going to take a little bit longer to mix up, but it will integrate the water eventually and lose some of that annoying viscosity that it's got to be a little bit smoother. Oh wow, you're right. And I just mixed up glue. I wish you would have said that before I mixed up my glue. Okay, we'll do a little bit of glue, and then we're going to call it. Kiki gave up on me ages ago. Alright, so start a dab, and continue your dab. I'm just using a normal paintbrush. Like I said, white glue and paint have a lot in common, so it's not going to hurt your brush if it's Elmer's. So we got that. I can build it up a little bit, like so. Maybe I make it a little bit irregular, so you don't have a super regular surface. And do make it fairly thick so that there's a lot of it for the stuff to stick to. There we go. You type too slowly, it's all good. It's all good. That's just me being a grump. And sprinkle it on just like you put any turf. I've got a little bit of static grass mixed in here, but I'm not going to sweat it. If I get some static grass bits, I'll just either pluck them out with tweezers or I'll paint them. And we're just going to put a bunch of this stuff all over. I'm going to use my sculpting tool to kind of press it into place. There we go. You can see my little hairs of static grass sitting there. This is kind of the same thing we did on that Sophie base, if you recall, where we just played with the rubble. But yeah, I'm not going to really mind the static grass because that needs it to be on its flat side. Because I can always paint over it, and there's going to be some grass sticking through anyway. That one I lost my glue. If I really don't like the grass, then I can grab a tweezers or a hemostat. And try to get those little guys out of there. You want to get them before the glue sets, obviously, or you are going to be out of luck trying to remove them. I just want to move the ones that are sticking out the most. I don't want a lot of grass texture sticking out right here. Honestly, the hemostat does do a pretty good job of it. Until they start to dry, then it's like, then you're done. Okay, but I probably will do a little bit of grass growing out of here anyway, so having a little bit is not too bad. That big piece is just fighting me. There we go. There we are. Good. Alrighty. Not too bad. And if you see a piece that's kind of sticking up, you can stick it down here. There's a cool little fissure here that I kind of want to rescue. I had some of this stuff go down into it, but I'll take that out with my tweezers. Now this is all still very crumbly, and so the thing that you want to do is you want to put glue over the top of it as well. Keeks was all interrupting earlier, but then I made her go away, so she took it to heart. Usually I'd let this dry, but you get the idea. You want to reinforce what you've done and seal it in because it's still pretty goopy. Seal it in by putting glue over the top as well. This also is one last time for you to pull off those static grasses or bury them. So once that dries, it's going to be a nice kind of deadfall-y thing. If we had more like tree limbs and stuff, we could make some dead wood like actually coming out of there. It'll give you a really rough, nice effect. And as I mentioned, the glue seals the cork as well, making it easier to paint so that if you're using thinner paint, it won't just soak in. So there we go. So that's nice, giving us some nice texture here, and allowed us to create more fine rock crumbly appearance, which is much more natural. So yeah, that's the way you can work with little cork particles to do that. And if you keep a big bag of cork pieces like I do, I mean, that's why you always brush this stuff up and put it in, even if it's tiny particles, because this is useful. And I'll have to get out my more medium-sized rocks later. But yeah, so this is going to be a really nice naturalistic vase, I think. Pull that little static grass over there because it's annoying me. There it is. There we go. There we are. All right. But yeah. So it's persnickety, but if you spend some time doing this sort of thing, in a combination of like the big chunks and the green and the everything, and then the texture pastes and all the rest that we'll be doing, you can get a really nice natural look. And that's what I'm aiming for with this one, I think. But I think she's going to be fun. I like how this is turning out a lot, actually. She's up tall. So yeah, now I just have to figure out what features I'm going to use to pull attention in the foreground. I'll have to think about it. I have to think about it for a while. But hopefully that was kind of fun. And you guys can see how to use this really fine cork stuff. Just when you think it's trash and you should throw it away. And be like, no, actually, you should keep it all. Yeah, and she is kind of, she looks like she's angling up. Like it's a good pose from above as well, but yeah, I think it works. I think it works so super. I'm going to grab my bag and brush all my cork back into it. There we go. I'll have to get the rest of these little particles off of here. Alright, there we go. Well, I've been going a little bit, I went a little bit not as much time last week, so this helps make up for it. I don't know where this goes. I don't remember anymore. So much stuff. My desk is inundated. I feel like I need to, like, totally clean my desk off again. I feel like I've got too much stuff on it. Yes. So cool, basing stream. Tomorrow, we'll be back to painting. Maybe we'll do the hair on this guy. If you recall, we were doing, I was putting that purple red on there last time, which I do like. It's grown on me. I think we're good. I think we're good with the purple red. It does work as a color with the greens, so we'll just have to look at it as we highlight and shade more on this guy. But yeah, we'll probably do his hair, now that we've almost certainly got to be platinum. We may do the shield. I'm trying to decide if I want what colors I want on the shield. So yeah. So we are here with Grumpy Link, Angry Link, as Quindy calls him, tomorrow. And no Rhonda today. Yep. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. It's pretty laid back, chill stream today with the sculpting, but hopefully y'all like that every once in a while. And yeah, tomorrow we'll be back to the painting, and I need to seriously figure out what we're doing for this mouseling, or I need to introduce another model until we can figure out what I'm doing with this mouseling. I'm coming up on basing so many minis, and I feel like I want to do more materials, but I don't know if I'm going to have them in time. I did not prepare. I am not prepared. All right, guys, have fun, and I will see you again tomorrow morning. And yeah, it's one of those days, Quindy. And I'll see you all later. Bye-bye.